Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure with that kind of presentation, you're wondering why I'm here at all. There's nothing there to do with IT or new forms of technology. And that is why I chose, with the after consultation with the organizer of this conference, to give a generic presentation on education, on learning, not really on ICT, not on e-learning per se, but simply on learning, which will include also issues of technology, but those will be almost marginal as far as I'm concerned. There's one I got it. The title of my presentation is What We Learn, How We Learn It, and For What. And I begin by giving my own very unschooled definition of education, which I call the process that fosters knowledge and the awareness of self and the environment in an individual and a society, and which unlocks human potential, lifting it to its highest levels, liberating the spirit, allowing the spirit to soar to new heights, and which unleashes energies for the maximum good of the individual, society, and humanity at large, and goes beyond, I'm stating here, beyond the mere acquisition of the three traditional R's, that is reading, writing, and arithmetic, even if these were crowned with a university degree. And my suggestion here, ladies and gentlemen, is that on top of the three traditional R's, we add two new ones. You can call them the Jenerali, Ulimwengu R's. One is reason. It's not very original, but I will claim it. To exercise the mind to think rationally and critically, and to evolve and prosper in sync with a fast-changing world. That is reason. And rhythm, to seek a balanced life in equilibrium with the African environment, with its colors, sounds, and cadences of a memory that goes back to the beginning of time. And here I want to posit a fundamental difference between training and education. Training is acquiring skills in technical discipline, making one efficient in the application of the skills thus acquired. Whereas education is that all-round development of an individual, technically and spiritually, equipping him or her with qualities of wisdom, empathy, and ethical behavior. And I'm saying one gentleman by the name of Joseph Mengele was a highly trained medical practitioner, but he was the quintessential barbarian, uneducated and heartless. So in my view, education is that which makes a man or woman what they are, knowledgeable, but knowing that there is always something new to know, conscious of their ability, but not conceited, aware of their surroundings, but reaching out to and testing new ideas, always searching, always questioning, always pushing the limits, always improving and qualifying themselves and the people and the environment surrounding them. So what do we learn? Or rather, what should we be learning? In my 9th year at school, I learned a great deal of the paddocks in East Anglia animal husbandry, that's in the UK. I also learned about the freezing temperatures of the Kamchatka, the height of Mount Everest, and the impressive features of the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. And I've been asking myself ever since whether there was very much relevance in all this knowledge that I learned. Unless, of course, I wanted to impress a beautiful girl from East Anglia or a professor from Australia, and so on and so forth. But today I know that we no longer need what Paulo Freire, the famous Brazilian pedagogist, calls the banking system of education, which deposits millions of bits of knowledge in the minds of the child to be drawn at a later date and spent according to need. Because today, at the click of a mouse, as you can see me doing here, or the touch of a digit or an iPad application, the world opens up with all the facts and figures one could ever wish to acquire. Simply too much information. We no longer need to pile up the facts and figures in children's heads. We need to learn and to teach how to search for information no longer stored in heads or piled up on shelves. We need to learn and to teach how to navigate a rich cyberspace that is also fraught with dangers for the unwary, especially young minds. So I say we need all the 5 R, the traditional 3 and my 2 added R's: reading, writing, arithmetic, to discover the joy in the magic of the written word and to be able to count one's blessings and miseries. But also to add reason, the faculty of engaging the mind around phenomena such as people, words, events, situations, and processes. The ability to interrogate everything, everybody, to inquire, to probe, to be wary of easy answers. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And to take that gentleman in Palestine many years ago, who has been known to us as Doubting Thomas, as our guardian saint. This is the man who said, "My Lord, I can see you, I see your face, I recognize it, but please let me touch the palms of your hands so that I can be sure that you are the one who was on the cross." And he was satisfied only after touching. That was the original scientist. Rhythm, which gives us balance, equilibrium, and a sense of belonging. Fish in the water phenomenon. Connects us with family, colleagues, community, nation, humanity. Ethical behavior. Do well, but do good as well. Take not what is not yours. Shun and fight corruption. Love, solidarity, empathy, caring for the other. At peace with nature, caring for the environment, enjoying life to the full. Aesthetical balance, the arts, music, poetry, dance, mens sana in corpore sano. Mark Zuckerberg, the Wunderkind, whose name is German for Sugar Mountain, on which he is now sitting, is also known to have read the Iliad at college in the original Greek. CIA, courage in adversity. Fair play. In case of doubt, support the underdog. The powerful don't need you, the weak do. RTP, STP, rather. STP, speak truth to power. And what is this education for? Education for doing. I'm getting used to this thing, you know. Colonial education aimed at creating a pliant and questioning population of laborers to produce for the empire. That's what that education was for doing. Producing auxiliary clerks and agents to service the colonial machine. After independence, universal primary education. But soon we discovered that there was dwindling government employment plus a weak private sector job market. And this equals creation of dropouts at every level. Now we have dropouts at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Because after doing Form 6 and going to university to do a further 3 years of theoretical learning, what you end up is really after 3 years you have graduates of Form 9. But I'm saying education, as everybody knows, can no longer be for job seekers, but people who will be engaged in self-employment, as the Honorable Minister has already told you. Education system and curriculum content must meet real and present occupational needs of the people. 100% of Tanzanians live on food. %80 habitually engage in agriculture. Most agricultural practices remain backward. Very little agricultural knowledge is taught at school. And now we need to introduce basic modern farming, fishing, and animal husbandry techniques in schools. To me, that is proper learning. And we also have to introduce other skills as well, trades and crafts, carpentry and woodwork, masonry, ironmongery, mechanics, handcrafts, commerce and bookkeeping, artistic and creative productions, sports, etc. Now we go to how not to teach and how not to learn. In other words, worst practices, which this country has been practicing very well. Learning by rote, the banking system way, according to Paulo Freire, and I cancel that. Teacher knows it all. Learner is empty. That is also wrong. Corporal punishment and other demeaning sanctions as a way of making children learn. Obviously wrong. Undue reliance on ambush examinations. Also wrong. frequent changes in curricula and programs at the whim of the Honorable Minister. This happens. The other day, not very long ago, a minister just woke up one morning and said there will be no more sports in the schools of Tanzania because sports was a waste of time. And I'm saying how to teach and how to learn. The very opposite of the past slide. Developing cognitive faculties. Encouraging the learner to discover inner strengths, building positive relationships between teachers and learners, fostering cooperative approach to learning, putting more emphasis on critical thinking, teaching students in a language most accessible to them, where possible, their mother tongue. This is a very contentious issue because people in this country and elsewhere in Africa and in the rest of the third world believe that if you can speak English very well, you don't even have to write it. If you can just speak it, twang out some slangish, Americanized English, you are educated. And they will die to have their children go to the so-called English medium schools and so on and so forth. Even if all they learn is an accent, and in their heads they have no content, they have no education whatsoever. As long as they can speak that slangish American accent, they're educated. And I've been searching. I'm yet to find out one country, one solitary country, which has made great strides in socio-economic development, which teaches its children in a language that is not their mother tongue. One. Can anybody tell me one country that Ethiopia, they teach in their mother tongue? Yeah. Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, I am presenting this to you. I'm saying there is not one country that I know of in the world, and if there is one, I'll take it as the exception that proves the rule anyway, that has made progress by teaching its children in a language that is not their mother's. And you'll be pleased to know that in the whole of Europe, only 2 countries teach their children in English. The other one is Malta. You know the first one. Banishing corporal punishment and other demeaning sanctions, putting more weight on continuous work, building national consensus on curricula and programs so that a minister does not lock himself up in his office and decide on the content of the education that our children are going to have, because that is arrogating to himself the role of God, the role of creation, which can only be deputized onto the people of any given society. Now, importance of technology. I come to the T word. All learning requires technology, and all technology requires learning. But we need to harness technology at all levels, from the crude to the rudimentary, to the basic, to the advanced, and to the cutting edge, as I'm using right now. All have their place in a layered society. The farmer or fisherman has his own or her own technology. The factory worker as well. The computer software writers, and so on and so forth. All are important because we are not moving at the same speed all the time. Now I'm saying that learning must have all of these levels of technological instructions at its heart. How Tanzania lost it. And I'm glad the minister is here. Those who followed events in this country, developments in this country in the 1960s and 1970s will know that major efforts were deployed in founding and establishing import substitution industry, which introduced basic technology, very simple manufacturing, textile industries, farm implements, and so on and so forth. Machine tools factories introduced basic manufacturing and fabrication in at least 2 places in this country. And we thought we were on our way to full industrialization and technological transfer to our people, because thousands of workers were employed in these factories and they started gaining technology. They stopped being Luddites or Luddites. They were no longer afraid of technology because they could handle it, they could manipulate it, they assimilated it and made it theirs. But after a while, in the name of something called liberalization and whatever else the Washington Consensus told us to do, all these factories either were left to die or were sold for a song. The rest were left to rot with that technology, and that technology has disappeared. Now, the most basic implements, including agricultural implements such as hand hoes and machetes, are imported from China and elsewhere. Society is divorced from technology of the most basic kind. And I'm saying urgently needed is the reversal of this trend and the repositioning of Tanzania in the quest for the acquisition of technology at all levels, beginning with the basic, but also seeking the cutting edge. Let's remember that Japan, after the Meiji Restoration, could have counted on imports from the West. Instead, they sent their young men and women to study in the West, acquire technology, and come back home to apply it in Japan. Korea could have said, since there is technology right next door in Japan, we don't need to go that route. We can import from Japan. And China could have said, since we have these 2 neighbors right on our doorstep doing wonderful things, we don't have to go that route. We can import from them. So why would Tanzania or why would Africa say, because China is fully industrialized, because China brings us even our very basic blades, knives, and forks, we don't need to industrialize, we can always import from China. If China had said that, China wouldn't be where China is today. And if Korea had said that, Korea wouldn't be where Korea is today. And if Japan had said that at the time of the Meiji Restoration, Japan wouldn't be where it is today. So anybody who says technology is not for us is either an idiot or a racist.